My crazy husband demanded I take a paternity test because his manhood shrunk when my son asked me a question instead of him, so I'm planning to shrink it even more with some divorce papers. Last Friday started off like any other. My husband and I were unwinding with a drink, enjoying the casual end to a busy week. Our son, who's 17, came over with a problem about his gaming PC. Now, I've been the tech guru in the family ever since I got into the field 25 years ago, so naturally, he asked me for help. As I started walking him through the troubleshooting, my husband's mood shifted. Out of nowhere, he got really upset, complaining that our son was ruining his relaxation time. His reaction was so over the top, he stormed off like a child whose candy was taken away. I was taken aback, but decided to let him cool off and focused on helping our son with his computer issue. Fast forward to the next day, and out of the blue, my husband drops a bombshell during dinner. He tells me that years ago, before we were married, he found out he was infertile. His previous partner had miscarried, and through some medical investigations, they discovered he couldn't have kids, which meant she had been cheating on him. Here's the kicker: he believes our son isn't his and demanded a DNA test. This was all news to me. We had struggled for 12 years to conceive, and I always assumed the difficulty was on my end. His revelation not only shook me to my core but also his insinuation that I might have cheated was heartbreaking. Despite the hurt, I agreed to the DNA test because I've never been unfaithful. The tension in the air was thick. I told him flatly that our marriage was over. He responded by accusing me of always knowing this would happen, calling me a liar and other hurtful names. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man I'd spent nearly 3 decades with was suddenly a stranger. In the midst of all this, a dementia angle was suggested by some friends, and it seemed like a path worth investigating given his unexpected outburst and irrational accusations. This wasn't the man I married, and these sudden changes in his behavior were alarming. As if the situation wasn't stressful enough, I had to explain to our son what was happening. Imagine having to tell your teenager about a DNA test because his father doubts his paternity. It broke my heart to see him trying to process this, his whole world turning upside down. I reached out to his ex the next day, hoping for some clarity or at least confirmation of his story. She was surprised and told me that none of what my husband claimed was true. She was thousands of miles away, with no reason to lie about their past. Her response only deepened the mystery and my worry about his mental state. Meanwhile, getting a DNA test wasn't straightforward. There was only one clinic that could do it, and my husband procrastinated, never actually going. I considered buying a kit online just to move things forward. Each day brought more tension. Just last night, he blew up over something trivial while we were making dinner. His shouts to just shut up were so out of character. He stormed off again, locking himself in the guest room, refusing to talk to me this morning. It's getting harder to keep calm, to not let his words and actions hurt me. Despite the chaos, I can't help but remember the vow I made to him, in sickness and health. If this is indeed a mental health crisis, I feel obligated to support him, but I'm at my wit's end. How do you help someone who refuses to see a doctor or talk about what's really going on? We're isolated here, far from our home country, with no nearby family or friends for support. He doesn't work, has no social network, and with my responsibilities to our animals and the feral cats I care for, simply walking away isn't an option. But I also know I can't stay if things turn violent. Thank you to everyone who's reached out with advice and support. It's been a lifeline during this surreal time. I'm holding on, trying to figure out what the future holds for us and how best to protect our son and myself from the fallout of a situation I never saw coming.